Welcome back to another edition of Strengthening Oklahoma. This edition of Strengthening Oklahoma is brought to you by the Winston in Norman. The Winston's got great food, better drinks, and the best patio in Norman. Visit thewinston.com to see their menu or order online. Put a bow and recap the end of the season. 51-48 lost in Lubbock, Texas on Saturday, as we also look forward to the bowl game and what's to come in the future here for the Sooners. And welcome to the show, safety, Mr. Key Lawrence. How are you doing today, Key?
I'm all right. How you guys doing?
We're doing all right, man. We're doing all right. Rough one in Lubbock on Saturday night. Just kind of I don't know if you've had a chance to go back and look at it yet, but any thoughts on kind of what went wrong or where there was some mishaps in that ball game against the Red Raiders?
Just taking advantage of the momentum. We had a lot of momentum swifts and key plays that could have been a detriment to the game. Not to say anything, but I definitely got a T when the field goal, but I don't know too much about it. But I just thought I should say something about that just because it's the elephant in the room. But yeah, man, just definitely just taking advantage of the opportunity we had. We had a 14-0 lead early in the game, and I felt like we could have just capitalized on it, just kept the momentum one-sided and just taking over from there. So really just start early in the game.
So I'm with you. I think there were a lot of missed opportunities offensively to create some serious separation there early in that game. But defensively, you guys played really, really well out of the gate, right? Turnover on their first offensive play, several punts forced in a row. And then you just, for whatever reason, couldn't sustain it. Have you guys figured out, when you went back and watched the film, is there any moment or something that they were doing where it kind of shifted the game where you guys couldn't keep playing at as high a level as you were playing early?
No, it was literally just having to take the coaching point and just apply to the game. Coach was trying to get us to settle down. That was the main thing. We're trying to get ourselves and stay poised in a moment. We kind of start feeling ourselves getting drifting away from having fun again. If you watch the film, you can just tell we was out there. We understood what we was trying to do. We went out there and executed it, and then we got the field. They'll make a couple big plays or a big play, and then everybody just get down on themselves. And we just need to understand we need to sustain that same energy and that same type of passion that we had in the first drives instead of just having to rebuild it back up or try to find something or a big play or just playing within the scheme, just living in the moment, just playing in that moment, and it'll come to us instead of just trying to find to go drive for one. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It looked like I did go back and watch the film. Looked like you guys, I thought, had really made some strides in tackling. Looked like tackling was a little bit of an issue the other night. Just angles on the football, overrunning some stuff. They had some nice cutbacks. Well, is that something that as you guys looked at the film, you kind of addressed and looked at, and areas that you need to continue to work on?
Of course, we was looking at that right after it happened. For example, me, I had the quarterback dancing right in the backfield, just simply overstriding, just not making a play. But we just try not to make stuff like that trigger in our head okay, this is over now. We just gotta keep so what now what type of mentality. It's a dumb place, a layup that we need to make, but we can't do nothing about it now. We just gotta fix the next rep and understand these are little small details that coach talks about us for us to be great. And we just had to buckle down and just stick to the basics, the fundamentals.
So you've kind of touched on it already, but it felt like one of the themes of the back half of the season defensively was once the opponent started having some success, it seemed like it would just snowball on you guys, and you could never get that momentum back in your favor. Do you have any idea why it was that way?
Honestly, I just, like I said, I think it's just because we want to be so much of a perfectionist that we get down on ourselves and we self-critique so bad that we just get overwhelmed and we start thinking about the play that happened in the past instead of thinking of what's going to happen next. And honestly, if I could say, I think that we got a lot better with it. And it may not have seemed to you guys, but internally, I can tell that guys started to lock in and stay focused, man. We had guys on the sideline underneath the tent, JB telling us we can keep going. Danny was telling us man, just keep going. Next play. And the DY saying hey, well, we can't do nothing about it now. Just get it fixed. Let's keep it going. But it takes so long for us to get to that point, is what I'm saying. So for us to like just keep us maintain for the defense. If we're not doing good, then like we start to get down, start like not saying that I point fingers at each other, but we start like to say like, hey, we start pointing fingers at each other and like start getting down on ourselves instead of having fun and then build on each other's momentum and impacting and impacting the opponent's offense. That makes sense. Like that's just the main thing, man. Like just trying to have fun with it. Like if you watch me, I try to have as much fun as possible because I know like I gotta have a so what now what mentality and like we gotta like we just gotta keep it going, man. We can't just keep like getting down on ourselves.
Give me a self-assessment, not just Texas Tech, full season. Do you feel that you improved throughout the course of the year? And then just kind of overall for the defense, it's kind of a self-assessment from where you guys started to where you guys finished up.
Yeah, so this was the main thing for us, man. Like having like the backers. So like for the backers, they see a gap, just blitz it. Or like for backers, they see somebody pull, get over top. You know, understanding like small details like that. Like at the beginning of the season, we could sit here and tell you that we knew what to do, like defensive wise, but the scheme and like understanding like the opponent's offense and what they trying to do. If it's like second and long or third and long, anticipate screen. Or if you see this guy line up here, anticipate that he's gonna come off the ball, he's gonna wrap around. This stuff like that. Like, of course, I felt like from the beginning to the end, for example, the main guy that I felt like that improved a lot, besides myself, was Danny. Like, I saw Danny start plugging gaps and reading like the tackle or the guard hips, like chasing the hips, like for a blitz stunt or anything like that. I feel like a lot of the guys, a lot of linebackers improved a lot. Because it's a big thing, as you guys know. The defense isn't something that you can just pick up. It's something that you got to have a real reaction time to.
So with that in mind, do you feel like you have an overall better understanding of the scheme? And with that, do you feel like you have a better overall understanding of how to play with those guys that are out there on the field with you? Because it's not always perfect, but
yeah.
It's almost like you have to learn how Danny and Aguebu and some of these guys are going to do certain things, and that determines what you do. Do you feel like you developed that chemistry as the season went on?
Of course. So like for example, we was playing this previous game. So we playing Texas Tech, and we call a call so where Danny has to go, and he has the innermost of the back goes inside, and he's gonna plug this gap. And if he goes outside, then he has to know that I'm gonna be outside of him, so he can't overrun the block. And so we're gonna have two guys in one gap. We can't have that mistake. So it's imperative that we know what each other is doing to be coherent with each other. So he got to trust me that I'm gonna be here, and I have to trust that he's gonna plug that gap if that guard blocks down. If that makes sense. So it's just like just trusting each other and just trying to be intertwined with each other and just having a confidence that we're going to execute the call.
You guys, I mean, 6-6 is not the way you wanted the season to go. That's frustrating in itself. Did you pay much attention this year, and did it add, any more angst that USC went 11-1 and they're playing for a Pac-12 championship? Did you pay attention to that, notice it? And does that even factor into, kind of the way you look at the totality of the season?
Okay, I definitely paid attention to it, but I didn't really pay too much close to it because I was so focused a bit with like our season on how we supposed to be doing things. Like, of course, like it felt like when we lose this much or we have this record, this outcome that we have, like OU is like a big deal. So like, of course, we're gonna like try to find out what's going on internally instead of looking somewhere else and like blaming or like trying to figure out what they're doing right and what we're doing wrong, stuff like this. We just gotta like fix the internal part and the internal aspect and then build on that. Like we can't just I seen like after a loss after those 3 weeks, like I was looking I was so fixated on the season and like improving on ourselves and like the schemes and everything. I didn't care what nobody else was doing. Like
it's a great answer, man.
Yeah, it's
a great answer. Just because I know that, the success that Lincoln and Caleb and those guys are having out there, it obviously is a big talking point with the fan base, but it's good to know that y'all were, kind of laser focus on just getting better. That's good to hear. I think a lot of people like hearing that. Now, interesting couple of weeks up ahead, right? You guys will find out what bowl game you'll be playing in on Sunday when all that stuff comes out. I feel like this is a question we got to ask every single one of our guys. Like, what's your plan for the bowl game? Do you plan on playing in the bowl game? Have you had that discussion with the coaches? Like, what are you thinking when it comes to whatever bowl game you guys end up playing in?
Honestly, man, I feel like a lot of guys are going to come and contribute for the game because, like, as a man, you want to start something and you don't want to start something and then not finish it. Like, if you're going to start the season, you may as well finish the whole season through and through. Like, not just for yourself, not for your pride, but for your brothers. Like, understanding, like, I'll never get to play with this team again. Like, Team 128, I'll never get to play with them again. No matter how much I want to try, how much I have memories of it, I'll never line up with JB again, like, ever in my life. Not if I wanted to or try to, here at Oklahoma. You understand? So, and Coach, like, strives to tell us that, like, don't just do it because we have a big, like, obstacle. Who knows what God has in store for us later on in life, but just living in the moment, man. Just living in the present and, like, just having the fun with these guys now while we can. It's probably the biggest thing for me, myself. So, and I'm just trying to get everybody else on board with that. And I'm pretty sure they all are. So
You've been someone that's gone through the transfer portal. That's how you wound up here. And we're thankful that you went through that process.
Mhm.
I'm curious, with the portal opening up on Monday, have you thought about your future in that regard, as well as what's it like? Like, there was no portal back in the day when we played. What's that whole process like for you, your family? Is it like being re-recruited? Because I'm curious just what being in the portal and trying to choose a new destination is really like.
So first thing first, like, you go into an institution like when you first came out of high school because you wanted to be there and make that your new home, of course. But so when you go into the transfer portal, it's like literally open up your whole recruiting process again and trying to figure out, like, what's best for me. Now you can't, like, have any coaches sugarcoating for you. You need to have a through and through plan, understanding, like, this is what's going to happen if I go here. And the grass not always green on the other side. I'm pretty sure, like, everyone knows that. So, like, you got to understand, like, if I'm going to go here, this is how I'm going to contribute. This is what the coaches want from me. This is the plan. You got to have a solidified plan, and, like, your family got to go along with it because, like, for me personally, I committed to a place where I thought was home because it was close to me, close for home, close for family. And you go halfway across the country, you have no family support, and there's no one got to be there for you but your teammates and your coaches. And so, like, that's the big thing for guys who think about the transfer portal. But for me, no, it's not even a question. I'm gonna finish the season. I'm gonna think about all the extra stuff outside after the season. So
I like it. I like it. Now, it's crazy because it was just a couple of years ago when you went in the portal and chose to come to Oklahoma. The NIL aspect of things, like almost this free agency, didn't exist yet. It wasn't fully up and running yet. How does that change things? Like, what are those conversations like in the locker room? Because, like, I think it's only natural to be like, hey man, if I went in the portal, I wonder what kind of offers I would get. You know what I'm saying?
and this like, it's so hard to explain because, like, you can't tell somebody don't do it because, like, you understand, like, it's literally money out there on the table that somebody can go out there and get. Like, you can't just sit here and say, like, you just going to the portal just because you want to leave and it's getting hard for you. You can't just sit here and say that now because the NIL aspect, like you said, like, some coaches or some schools, you see people out there, like, in LA, for example, because we're talking about USC, the receiver, Jordan Addison. Yeah, Jordan Addison, went to Cali and some got an NIL deal for like $1 million or something like that. So, like, who knows? Like, it depends on the culture of the program and where they're going. Like, if you're in Cali, you have all these NIL opportunities for, like, EA Sports, for video games, movie actors, like, all different type of stuff. So, like, it's a whole new ball game now. So
The game has changed for sure. I need see if you can work on an NIL deal for me for, like, NyQuil or Mucinex, because I don't know what's going on right now, but man, I think I
You're
could
struggling
represent
over
them.
there, big guy.
I could represent them very well. Yeah, whatever's going around here in early December, late November, it definitely found its way into my house, into my system. But you're right, man. The NIL world, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, and it's changed the game. And until further notice, this is going to be the way that everybody has to operate. That goes for universities, coaching staffs, as well as players.
And luckily, Oklahoma and a lot of people in the NIL space are all starting to kind of work together and come together and try to make this as easy as possible on players and fans.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a good there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes right now for Oklahoma, which is I think is a very positive development.
And I think that there's a recognition from Oklahoma as well as other schools that like this is reality. Like this is what you have to do and where you have to be moving forward. All right. Appreciate you answering those questions so honestly, Key. Really, really good stuff. Let's get a couple of fan questions in here. Fan questions, as always, brought to you by Love's Travel Stops. Visit loves.com for more information on the nation's leading travel stop network that's headquartered right here in the great state of Oklahoma. Ryan L. wants to know, what is your favorite moment from this season?
Okie State, definitely winning Baylor, man. Because I know it's cliche, and I know a lot of people said this, but like after that game we had last year when we played Baylor, I had COVID, right, or whatever, and I can when I tell you, I vividly remember because like who wouldn't remember having COVID? You know how everything was going around, so I remember everything like step for step, word for word, interviews before, interviews after, like I remember everything. So like it was just over, like it felt so good to like just shut them out, damn near for us. So like sorry, but yeah, it felt real good about it.
You guys played great. That to me was the most complete game that you guys played defensively all year, and you had to have it.
And we had fun doing it, man. Like it was so much fun. You can see the passion between the offense and defense. And it was just like having a coherent thing, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it felt so good, man.
It was. I can just say, being down there on the sideline, it was fun watching you guys having fun playing well. It was. I enjoyed just watching you guys, whether it was in the huddle or going out there on the field. It was fun for me to watch you guys play at that level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this last one comes from Henry S. And this may take some thought, man. He said, what is something that us fans don't know about you that you really want us to know?
That's a hard one.
If it helps at all, we asked Theo the same question, and he then went into a long explanation of why he likes coloring.
He likes coloring with matte pencils, not with colored pencils, not with
colored pencils,
crayons.
not crayons. So that was his answer. So don't feel too much pressure to give something super insightful here.
Okay. I don't know. This is a hard question. I don't know. Okay. So I'm gonna give you a fun fact then, because I don't know how to answer that question. I like eating peanut butter on my honey buns.
Ooh, that's perfect.
But let me tell you an example for why this. Okay,
please.
So a lot of people, the salt and the sweet granola bars.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like the sweet texture and the flavor of the honey bun.
Oh yeah.
That got protein from the peanut butter on top, just to top it up. You put it in the microwave for about 10 seconds, get it nice and warm. Bon appetit.
My friend, you are speaking our language right now.
Crunchy. I just need to know, crunchy or smooth?
See, I'm a crunchy guy.
Me too. I'll take that.
I'm in everything. I am. So if there's any breakfast carb, let's say pancakes, waffles, French toasts.
Yeah.
It is being covered in peanut butter before the syrup goes on it for this guy. Every time, no matter what.
Oh yeah. So we're in the same boat for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're speaking my language.
Are you on Nutella? You like Nutella?
I like Nutella, but like just a good OG peanut butter, man, it's so hard to beat. I eat like a jar of peanut butter a week. I'm disgusting.
Yeah, that is nasty.
Yeah, I know. I fully admit it's fine.
I can't agree with that one.
If it's got butter in its name, it's a problem for me. Whether it's regular butter, almond butter, peanut butter, cashew butter, it's not good. I try not to keep it in the house because I'll eat it. And one thing we used to, whenever I played for the Bears, we'd have big breakfast every morning, and I had to like try to be big. I was like 305, 310. And so I'd have blueberry pancakes, and I would cover them in peanut butter.
Oh,
so good.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
Now you see what you've done here, Key. You've got a couple of fat kids getting excited about food. Now we just can't quit talking about all
Okay,
the food we want to eat.
you didn't know I was used to be bigger when I was little.
What?
I used
Way.
Yeah, that's why I started playing football. Like that's exactly how I got introduced to football.
So,
They were like,
you,
hey,
you were
come here,
like me.
fat
You were a
boy.
fat kid. I was
Yeah,
a fat kid too. I was a real fat kid.
like I didn't, but if you would never tell me that I was fat because I was so athletic, but I was big and like seeing other kids, like I would keep up with them, but I would never know I was fat till I saw pictures from like when I got older.
And what are you now? Probably about 4 or 5% body fat.
See, I gained. I was 3 at first. Now I'm 5. So
Right there, looking good, feeling good, and it's always awesome to talk to you, Key. Love that smile, love that positive energy you bring to the table, and it's been an absolute pleasure all season. Look forward to talking to you again real soon, man. But thanks for the time today.
Of course, man. Blessings.
All right, there you go. As always, great to talk with Key Lawrence. And now it's time for me and my man Gabe to break it down. The breakdown brought to you by the Oklahoma Proton Center. It's one of the top cancer centers in the region using state-of-the-art proton therapy. Oklahoma Proton Center, more than a cure, quality of life. Boy, I love his energy. Key Lawrence, always fun to talk with. It seems like he's always got an optimistic viewpoint on everything. I thought he improved throughout the course of the season. I honestly, he fell short of my expectations. I thought he'd have a chance to be an all-conference type of player. Took him a while. It took him longer, I think, to get a real grasp of how he fit into this defense and what his assignments, what his rules were. But I thought as the season progressed, he showed quite a bit of improvement, which is exactly what you'd like to see. You would love to see him pick it up and hit the ground running. Because I thought at the end of last year, going back to the 2021 season, he was playing great, making huge plays, creating turnovers, always seemed to have a knack for when the defense needed a big play, he'd make it. And so I just thought that off that, he would just flourish and explode this year. Didn't happen, but we did see him progress and get better throughout the course of the season, which is from that regard, a good sign heading into next year.
I think, and I know that each of these guys have a choice to make, right? When it comes to what's best for their future. I get that. But I think Key Lawrence is the type of guy that if he comes back for one more season at Oklahoma, he's got a chance to really enhance his draft stock because he's got the physical tools, right? Yeah. I mean, he's got size and length. Think he runs well when he knows where he's supposed to be. Like I think the times that you see him playing slow, it has a lot to do with a lot of thinking being involved. Right. But when he's seeing things clearly and he pulls the trigger, man, he can make plays. And I think a big offseason with Jerry Schmidt, another offseason, another spring ball, right? Understanding the scheme, another training camp. I think he can be a difference-making player at safety. And I think depending on who comes back in that secondary, like I think the secondary can be really strong as a whole, Dusty. Like I think that if you get all those veteran guys back for the most part, that you got to feel pretty good about that secondary going into next season. But we'll see what all these guys end up doing.
What's fascinating is you've got that extra COVID year. So it gives all these guys an extra year of eligibility if they want it. Then you've also got the transfer portal. Like for Key, I think he's back. It wouldn't make any sense in my estimation to go to the NFL. And he's already transferred once. So, right. and I don't believe he's graduated. And unless you're a graduate transfer, if you've already transferred once, you have to sit out a year. I can't imagine Key wants to sit out a year. So I think my anticipation, I feel with somewhat of certainty. I don't know if you can speak definitively on anything, but I feel somewhat certain that he's back next season. Everybody else, hopeful. I think Billy Bowman, it's vital that he comes back. I expect that he will. I have no reason to believe he wouldn't, but again, you never know.
Let's be real. When it comes to Billy, right? He's the type of guy I would not be surprised if there are other programs contacting him indirectly, right? Wondering, hey, because we all see when he was healthy this year, we all see the talent. right? And he did not finish on a strong note against Texas Tech. He
had his worst game against Tech, but there's a lot of good film he put out there.
Yeah, and I think everyone, especially a bunch of schools in the state of Texas, know how talented he is. So, that's something to monitor. But, if you're Brent Venables and you're Oklahoma, there's only so much you can do about it. We talked about how the NIL stuff at OU is getting more organized, which is vital. Yeah. I think it's important. I think it's important that more people are showing, are willing to come together and work together. I think that's huge for the program. But it's one of these things, like I look at the roster right now and I'm like, oh, he's back. And then I have that moment of realization where I'm like, is he back? Like,
right. You don't know.
And I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be a crazy 3 or 4 weeks, man.
And there's conversations that have already happened that are going to continue to be ongoing with the staff. And look, kind of like we said in the Theo piece, there's going to be guys that they hope come back that will. There's going to be guys they hope come back that don't. There's going to be guys that they say, hey, maybe it makes a lot of sense for you to get in the portal. Those conversations are happening and have already happened, and they're going on all over the country. It's just the way college football is currently, and it's the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future. You said it's important for there to essentially be alignment in NIL with, the various collectives being aligned and or, staff, university, whatever it may be. I think it's essential. I don't even think it's important anymore. I think it's you either do that or you're in trouble. That's the way I view it. That's the way I look at it. Like, and the stuff is, since we started this, things have changed and more things are coming to light. And we see, I was watching, there was 2 weeks ago, the Clemson athletic director was calling on all of their donors to donate to this collective, right? To help funnel money to football. Like, athletic directors are outwardly asking on university platforms for money. And like, that's the reality. It's not for facilities. It's for NIL collectives that work in conjunction with the university to be able to facilitate money to players. That's the real. And it's legal. This isn't like backdoor channels. It's completely and totally above board. It's completely, totally legal. And people can mock and talk about, allegedly what happened in College Station with their recruiting class, or allegedly what happened with players going to USC or wherever it may be. It's all legal. It's all above board. It's the way you have to play the game now. And you can dig your heels in the sand and you could say, I don't agree with that. I'm not about that. And you know what happens? You're going to sink in that. That sand's going to turn to quicksand and you're going to sink and you're going to get passed by everybody. And there's just a realization now, I think, by more and more universities, because where a lot of people were in the summer or to start the year around the country is not where they are right now as we head into December. Just not. The landscape continues to change. I think people's understanding of what's allowed, what's not allowed, which is still a gray area, but I think that the understanding of what needs to be done to compete at the highest level is growing by the day. So it's wild. But back to your point, like, yeah, we consider and look at the roster and project into next year. But really, until you get into spring, and truth be told, until you get into summer, it's hard to know definitively what any of these rosters are going to look like, because there's going to be a 45-day window that opens on Monday, right? 45-day window that players can enter the transfer portal and then find a new place. Then that window closes. And then the next window opens, I believe it's post spring football. I think it's right around early May, and it runs right up until, I think, early to mid-June. I don't have it in front of me, but I think those are roughly the two windows that'll open. You can only transfer in those two windows. So once you get to that June date and that's closed, now you know your roster, right? But until then, it's hard to say, oh, so excited about them being back because you just don't know. And again, not to get too long-winded, but the other aspect is, like I said with Key, if a player is already transferred once, you get one freebie in college football currently. You get one opportunity to transfer without having to sit out unless you're a grad transfer. So if you've used that one free transfer and you've gotten your degree, well, then you can transfer again a second time and not have to sit out. If you have not gotten your degree, if you can transfer, but you have to sit out. And I think that deterrent is going to keep a lot of people and players away from wanting to transfer that second time until they're able to get their degree and potentially go somewhere immediately. So I would just say that is one thing to keep in the back of your mind. Players that have come in or players that have transferred already once, if they haven't graduated yet, they're probably less likely to transfer a second time.
I'm with you. And as far as Oklahoma and, these next couple weeks, you really just have to trust Brent Venables and this staff that they are doing what they believe they have to do to enhance the roster.
Yeah.
Whether that's telling some guys like, hey, we love you, but go play somewhere else. Or that's holding on to certain guys that maybe you don't think are going to be great players, but they can kind of see the potential with what they've seen each and every day. That's getting guys in the portal, keeping the recruiting class together and how they kind of see it. I mean, is it going to work out exactly the way that they want it? No, right? It won't be, 100% exactly the way they want it to go. But you kind of just have to have some faith in Brent Venables that he can enhance the level of talent. And while he does that, like bring in his type of guys, right? That's the key. Like you gotta bring in guys that love football, but that also have the tools. And it's really complicated, right? You just gotta have to sit here and go, okay, good luck. Good luck to the staff. Good luck to the program, because there's really not much other than, trying to bolster the NIL piece and allowing them to have that to be able to discuss with whatever the rules are with recruits. Then I don't really know. We all just have to kind of sit here and wait.
Yes, we do. It is a bit of a waiting game, but I agree with you. You do have to put trust in the staff, in Coach Venables. They're working tirelessly to enhance this roster. And look, nobody wants Oklahoma football to be a dominant force as much as he does. And nobody puts as much pressure on getting this program right than Coach Venables does himself. And I can assure you, they're doing everything in their power to do just that. And there's a lot of factors that go into that, but enhancing the roster and getting the right players in that locker room that like you said, that fit the culture mentality that Coach Venables wants, as well as being dudes, being players. Like, I mean, there's both, and there is a way to be able to find both. And we'll see what these next couple of weeks yield as we lead up to a bowl game. The portal opens on Monday, National Signing Day. The early period is December the 21st. So a lot to transpire here over the coming weeks. All right. Big thanks to Muse Growth Strategies for continuing to help us spread the word about strengthening Oklahoma. Reminder, you can subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or wherever you take in your podcast. You can check out our website, strengtheningok.com, where you can contribute and be a part of what we're doing to try to help our athletes at Strengthening Oklahoma. Whether you're watching this episode for the first time or you've been here since day one, we thank you. We appreciate you. And we'll see you again next time right here on Strengthening Oklahoma.